Buenos horas to the YouTube peoples out there. So, of course, what happens? Another terrorist attack. I don't understand these people who are still yelling about Islamophobia when we have consistently people dying every single day. It's like, at this point, like, fuck you. I don't care if you call me an Islamophobe. Like, who the fuck cares? At this point, fuck you. You know, because people are dying. This is a terrible, awful ideology that you guys can't seem to wrap your heads around. I mean, and the people I'm talking to, it's the people who are like, we need to defend the Muslims, we need to defend the Muslims. No. No. The Muslims aren't the victims when people die here, okay? Okay? Somebody took a bomb to a concert, an Ariana Grande concert, where there were young girls there. You know, like, who listens to Ariana Grande? You know, like, young girls. Like, I think teenage girls, right? Like, they targeted teenage girls. Do you get that? Like, you're looking at this religion, and this is a great, like, super trolly tweet, but, like, let's discuss what Islam has to offer. Rape, beheadings, burning people alive, female genital mutilation, hostage taking, honor killings, slavery, oppression of women, jihad, and pedophilia. Yeah, sounds like a great religion. Also, by the way, Muhammad was white and he hated black people. He called them raisin heads and he thought that they were inferior. So, Muhammad's a fucking racist. If you guys want to call me Islamophobic, I'm fine of being phobic of pedophilia and racism. So yes, I'm afraid of Islam. Islam is fucking terrifying. If you're not afraid of Islam, then there's something wrong with you. There's something literally significantly wrong with your spiritual well-being. If you don't understand wrong from right to the extent that you think that female genital mutilations are right, that the oppression of women is okay. You know, I hear a lot of fucking feminists out there who screech about the oppression of women in the United States, where we do have rights. We're able to walk around uncovered. We're able to move around the country free of any sort of chaperone. We don't have to walk behind our husbands 10 paces. Fuck you people. Stop supporting Islam. Islam's terrible. You guys have no morality. If you can look at this religion and the things that come out of it and go, yeah, that's a great ideology. I think everybody should follow it. Let's protect the Muslims because this ideology really needs to flourish. No, it doesn't. No, an ideology that promotes rape and pedophilia. Fuck you. No. This is not just cultural differences. There is a difference between wrong and right. You people have to understand that. And I'm sorry, but the Muslim community just lacks the wisdom, I guess, to tell the difference between wrong and right. If it was just a theory about the cosmology of the universe or something like that, no, but it's prescriptive. It is very, very, very prescriptive to the point where it's like, hey, if your wife is being disobedient, beat the shit out of her. If you come across an infidel, kill him. If you won't convert, it's convert or die. That's what Islam is. It's disgusting. It's horrible. I don't understand why people keep calling it a religion of peace when literally part of the main ideology is that you go off and you kill non-believers. That's part of the Quran. That's right in there. That's the whole fucking point. The whole point behind Islam is to oppress people, is to force people to submit. That is the very definition of oppression. You guys scream about oppression so much. You social justice warriors and you feminists and all these people. And yet, when real oppression actually occurs, you guys are fucking hypocrites, and you protect the people who are doing the harm. What does it say about you as a person? I have no respect for anybody who stands there and supports Islam, okay? Islam's retarded. Islam was created by a warlord. He wanted to literally conquer the Arabia Peninsula, and then, if had it been possible, he would have wanted to conquer the entire world, which Islam's doing a pretty good job at right now. I don't know if you guys have noticed how Europe's just kind of falling apart at the moment because they have so many terrorist attacks every single week. That's disgusting. People are dying needlessly because we're letting these people into our country. Instead, we should be fighting against Islam. I know that there are moderate Islamics, not Islamics, but Muslims out there who, they go to mosque, they listen to the equivalent of the preacher, and the preacher may not preach on all this violent material that Islam preaches. And you know what? To those people, I would say, find another religion. Learn about your religion, first of all. And then, look into other religions. I really do think that people, in general, need to be open to as many different religions and ideas and concepts as possible. You have to be open and at least be able to hear out an idea to know if it's a bad or a good idea. It's just that Islam is a terrible idea. It's awful. It's terrible. Christianity, I think it's a great idea. Judaism, there was some violence in there. It's very, also very ethnically, or is ethnic the right word? Racially, the Semitic Jewish race or whatever. It's very, racially, ethnically, whatever, culturally associated with just that group. Judaism's really a religion for one peoples, and Christianity transformed the concepts behind Judaism and made it, for everybody. But here's the thing. I do think that there is a certain amount of truth in every religion. It's just that, Islam's the nasty side of that. I think, personally, Islam is a manifestation of the evil side, It's just so terrible. It's like pedophilia. He married a 6-year-old girl and had sex with her when she was 9. It's disgusting. I'm talking about Muhammad, the holy prophet. Oh, peace be to Muhammad. Fuck him. Fuck Muhammad. No, peace be to Muhammad. No. Muhammad needs to go to hell. That's what needs to happen. Okay? And the rest of y'all who are going to support Islam without A, knowing what it's really about, and B, if you do know what it's about, how can you support it? You're terrible. This is awful. This is a bad idea. This is one of these bad ideas that I was talking about. Like, it's not that I'm closed off or anything, or that I'm closed-minded about Islam. That's not it at all. It's that I've explored Islam, and I've decided that it's cancerous and it needs to die. Anyway. It just makes me angry when people get hurt for no reason. There is no good reason for those people to have died. Every time a terrorist attack happens, there's no good reason for the violence. There's no good reason for the harm and the suffering. There's just no point behind it. Muslims, aside from all the trash talk and stuff, when you look at terrorist attacks like this, and you look at the jihad, and you look at some of the things in the Quran, and you look at some of the practices, such as female genital mutilation and beating your wife and so on and so forth, when you look at that, can you honestly say that the one true God would act that way? Do you honestly believe that? That it's just so hard for me to believe that the one true God, the God who is supposed to save us from ourselves, essentially, because we don't know what the fuck we're doing, that God would come down and impose laws and rules that would enforce more suffering upon the world. You know? That just doesn't make sense. When you look at religions, there's supposed to be a saving element in it. Judaism has this collective salvation element that happens over and over. It's a repetitive story throughout the Old Testament. In the New Testament, you have Jesus. He comes and he saves. And it's a one-off, but there's 4 different stories, people telling you the same story, essentially, 4 different groups. And it's the main center point of the religion is saving. And you think about it, what is the value of the laws of Islam, which cause way more suffering, or the saving nature of like something like Judaism or Christianity, something like that? There's a huge difference. Like I said before, Judaism was, racially, culturally very isolated. It was for one group of people, right? It was very tribal. But it had this saving element. To me, that's what makes it an okay religion. It's like, yeah, there was violence. There was a shit ton of violence. But the point is, how do we save our society to make it function and work right? There needs to be some sort of salvation, because we understand that the murdering and the killing and the raping and the pillaging, it's not a good thing. You have to actually, read throughout the Old Testament. You have to understand. I mean, there were times when the main protagonists in the stories did horrible things, just absolutely terrible things. Like King David, oh my fucking God. And Christians do a disservice to themselves by glossing over this stuff. But King David, he impregnated one of his best friend's wives, and then he sent him out to be killed because he wouldn't have sex with his wife, and he wanted to cover up the pregnancy. So King David called his best buddy home from the front lines of fighting to try to get him to fuck his wife so that he wouldn't find out that he had gotten her pregnant. And then when he wouldn't do that because he wanted to show solidarity with his troops or whatever, then he had him put in a very dangerous area where he got killed. He murdered his best friend, essentially. And yeah. But then you come in, and the next part of it, this is really harsh. But there's a reason why King David's known as a great king, and it has nothing to do with his flaws. It has to do with his reaction to what he did and how he dealt with it. You have to look at the entire story, because the next part of it, he marries the woman he got impregnated, Bathsheba. She gives birth, and see, David knows he's sinned. He knows that he did something absolutely horrible, and he knows God's gonna take his child when it comes into the world, and he does everything that he possibly can to try to get God not to do that. He sits there and he weeps and he wails and he prays to God just for months on end, and finally the baby's born and it dies, of course. God takes, inflicts the punishment, the consequence of his actions upon him, which sounds very cruel, but this is... I wouldn't take this story necessarily literally. But it has spiritual significance to it, And but he sits there and he wails, and then once he finds out that the baby's dead, because his servants and stuff, they don't want to approach him. He's so upset. He's been so upset for weeks and months. And finally someone tells him, and he just calmly stops crying. He gets up, he wipes himself off, and he goes and he cleans himself up. Later he's asked, why did you stop crying? I thought you'd be more upset, And he goes, well, at that point I couldn't, there's nothing to do. Like, there was still a chance to try to repent to God. And it didn't work. And even so, he accepted his sin. This sounds really cruel, I understand. But he accepted his sin. And in that, there's a certain salvation, okay? Taking responsibility for your actions is something that saves us as people. You can't go through your life and rely on other people to constantly be telling you what to do. I mean, that's what Islam does. That's why it's such a terrible ideology, too. It's because it has all these prescriptive rules that it wants you to follow, that you have to follow, that you're forced to follow. That's one of the most terrible things I think about it, is that it literally does restrict free will. But if you take responsibility for your actions, you have control of your soul. You have control of what you do and how you spiritually develop. You have to understand you have a choice of how you act. You can choose to go to the dark side, which you need to explore your dark side in the first part to even understand yourself and what your dark side is and what you're capable of. But you have to make that choice between good and evil. There's certain things that you have to do. David made a really bad choice when he came in and he fucked around with another man's wife and then he murdered that man. He fucked up. That's really bad. And he's king, so nothing's gonna fucking happen to him. But he was punished. There's a sense of fairness. You can call it karma, whatever you want to call it. Maybe it's just naturally what was going to happen to him. Maybe the baby was just destined to die regardless. But David definitely suffered for it. And, we suffer for our own mistakes. We need to take responsibility for our actions like David did. He tried really hard to repent for what he had done, because he realized what he had done was wrong, and he was sorry about it. And after that, you gain wisdom from every mistake that you make. And none of us are perfect, and I'm not excusing what King David did. But you have to look at his growth and at least admire it to a sense, because after that he wasn't like, okay, now it's okay for everybody else to go out and fuck somebody else's wife and then murder them. That's not the point of the story, is not to excuse that. It's actually the opposite. It's to say that that's wrong, that you shouldn't do that, and that you have to repent and try to make things right, either with God or with whoever. You gotta be spiritually responsible for your soul. Islam is a bad choice. You need to gain the wisdom to understand the difference. Alright. Well, I think I'm done. Hope you guys like my new haircut. It's a lot shorter than I wanted it to be. But I'm kind of digging it, so yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I obviously have very strong opinions on this. I'll probably be making a lot more like religiously themed material from now on, just because, like, I don't know, I'm trying to develop myself as a spiritual human being, and I'm very enamored right now with the whole Gnostic sort of viewpoint of the world and stuff, and so I'm just kind of exploring that, and it helps me at least to, like, talk and think through these things, and I don't know, maybe you'll find it interesting, but at least that's my plan for right now. I could go back into, you know, dealing with my depression again and not make another video for several weeks again, but hopefully that won't happen, since I started taking medication, you know, a few days ago and starting to feel a little bit better and whatnot. But I hope you all have a great day, so see ya.